that? Who that ain't buying it? Who that ain't buying it? Yeah, who that ain't buying it? Nah, they ain't feeling that. Jeff wrote another one, fans looking like, what's the deal with that? Tried to paint Camaro like he watched, we ain't hearing that. Put him back in space, watch him shake, watch him kill him fast. Screens disappear, wheel routes gone where the motion at. Running them up middle like he Henry, that ain't where he at. AK still got magic, better use him where the field is vast. Saints fans know the truth, we ain't falling for the Duncan draft. Jeff Duncan dropped the piece, now the city got opinions talking. Move on from Camaro, fans saying he tripping. You can't blame the player when the play calling been missing. Had a cheat code in the backfield, now they use him like he basic. When he first came through, he was catching in the flats. Linebackers frozen, he was gone before they tapped. Wheel route up the sideline, screen pass with the blocks. Now they slam him in the A-gap like he built a movable box. That ain't AK's lane, that ain't how he made his name. He need daylight misdirection, let him cook inside the game. While we acting like the talent left, the use has been insane. Same old story, different star, fans peeping that. Who that ain't buying it, no, they ain't feeling that. Jeff wrote another one, fans looking like, what's the deal with that? Tried to paint Camaro like he watched, we ain't hearing that. Put him back in space, watch him shake, watch him kill him fast. Screens disappear, wheel routes gone where the motion at. Running them up middle like he Henry, that ain't where he at. AK still got magic, better use him where the field is vast. Saints fans know the truth, we ain't falling for the Duncan drafts. They remember Mike Thomas, yeah, they seen this before. Same pin, same angle, tryna push him out the door. Fans ain't rocking with it, they been keeping up the score. Like why every time I start down, you gon' twist it even more. This feel like a hit piece, that's what they saying in the streets. From the dome to the timeline, everybody got receipts. Camaro ain't the problem, man, the scheme got him asleep. You don't park a foreign car, then complain it ain't cheap. Give him option routes, motion linebackers in the bind. Let him catch it on the move, not collide with the line. He ain't Derrick Henry, stop pretending that's the design. He a joystick with the vision, let him work and let him shine. Who that nation loud, they ain't quiet with the facts. They seen AK carry, they ain't turning on fast. Before you say he done, better check how he been tasked. A weapon out of rhythm, still a weapon with a chance. Who that ain't buying it, nah, they ain't feeling that. Jeff wrote another one, fans looking like, what's the deal with that? Tried to paint Camaro like he watched, we ain't hearing that. Put him back in space, watch him shake, watch him kill him fast. Screens disappear, wheel routes gone where the motion at. Running them up middle like he Henry, that ain't where he at. AK still got magic, better use him where the field is vast. Saints fans know the truth, we ain't falling for the Duncan draft.
DJ, yeah. Straight up, let's go. Welcome to Straight Up TJAY. Tap in, sit back, press replay. Been locked in with the Saints on a weekday. Now we talking every sport, every big play. Years on the grind, now we level up the view. From the dome to the world, get a better look at you. No script.
Hey, what's going on? Who that nation? What's going on, sports fans? It is yours truly, TJ Jones. Welcome to another edition of the Straight Up TJAY Podcast. Really do appreciate your time. Much love to each and every one of you. And before we get started, I ask that you hit the like and subscribe button to help the podcast to grow. I would really appreciate that. And I want to give a special shout out to everybody that has checked out the most recent song that we have put together. We ain't buying it. All right. The Who That Nation is not buying what Jeff Duncan is selling. Of course, it stems from the article that was written last week. Thought that, I put pen to pad for that one, right? You know what I'm saying? So shouts out to my guy, Khalil King, who actually was the one that the artist that actually recorded that for me. But I did write that, all right? But shouts out to him, man. He definitely did his thing on there. And I really do appreciate everybody that has responded to that, okay? And if you want a copy of it, make sure that you check it out. It is available on the YouTube channel, and I really appreciate that. But on this edition, we're going to be talking a little bit about some breakout players for the New Orleans Saints, some players that are poised to have a solid 2026 campaign. And we're also going to be getting into an unfortunate event or situation. We're going to be talking about former NFL running back Chris Johnson, who was diagnosed with ALS. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have already seen that particular situation in the interview. So we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about that. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk a little bit about some of the breakout stars that could possibly be a part of the New Orleans Saints team. For those that have not checked out the Sleeper Saints podcast, I focus more on some players that are on the bubble, players that could be in jeopardy of actually not being a part of the team if they don't put together a positive 2026. But we want to go ahead and focus here on the Straight Up TJ podcast, focusing more on the players that could possibly be breakout players for the New Orleans Saints. Now, there are 3 players that are on this graphic that you see right here below, but there are several players that are not a part of this graphic that I feel like are poised to have a solid 2026. And I'm not going to start with any of these players that you see on this graphic. I'm going to start with a player that I was very impressed with. I mean, I'm talking about since he hit the field during preseason and he was thrust into the lineup due to an injury, and that is Ernest Sinker. I think that Ernest Sinker is a guy that a lot of Saints fans may pay attention to, but when we're talking about true breakout players, I don't think his name comes up enough. Ernest Sinker was thrust into the lineup after week 1 when Julian Blackmon went down. A very capable free safety is Blackmon, and he was having a really good game versus the Arizona Cardinals. And then all of a sudden he's injured. He's out for the entire year, and Ernest Sinker steps up. And this tells you a lot about Sinker because everybody was concerned what the New Orleans Saints would do now that Blackmon is out for the entire season, and they allow Sinker to be in the lineup. And he did a really good job, man. I mean, there was some times where he showed that he was a rookie, but for the most part, he was exactly where he needed to be. He was a guy that was around the football. When he got his hands on the football, he can intercept it. He had a fumble recovery, and he never looked like he was lost out there. Now, I'm pretty sure the New Orleans Saints are going to try to experiment with him in the slot. I think that he's probably going to be the starting nickel corner for the New Orleans Saints now that Julian Blackmon is back. I expect for him to go back to being that safety and have Justin Reed as strong safety. But Ernest Sinker is a guy that is good in coverage. He's a solid tackler, and I think that he can be a cornerstone player for the New Orleans Saints. Alontae Taylor, who did a formidable job, but we know that he signed a deal with the Tennessee Titans, and now the New Orleans Saints are trying to figure out how they're going to fill that void. But I think that Ernest Sinker can take that position to the next level because I think that he's made of the right stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing what Ernest Sinker can do in 2026. He's a guy that's on the top of my list. He's got to be like top 3 New Orleans Saints players that I feel is poised to have a breakout season. The second player that I want to discuss and talk about is running back Devin Neal. As we discuss and talk a little bit about the running back situation, we've talked about it because of the situation with Alvin Kamara, and where is his role going to be? We know that Travis Etienne is going to be the feature back. He's going to be more featured in offense, followed by Alvin Kamara as of right now. But I just think that Devin Neal is going to be the guy that the Saints are going to rely on. He was a 6th-round draft pick last year coming out of Kansas, and I think that Kellen Moore and his staff really are high on Devin Neal. And you can see why. In a few games towards the tail end of the season, Devin Neal started to come on. As a matter of fact, I want to say the last time he carried the ball, he actually scored a touchdown. Unfortunately, he had an injury that kept him out for the rest of the year. But Devin Neal is a really smart running back. I think that the Saints are very fortunate to have him on their roster. If this was the NFL draft this year, the New Orleans Saints would not been able to attain Devin Neal. I mean, he just so happened to be a part of a draft where it was extremely running back heavy, and you had guys like Omarion Hampton and Quinshon Judkins that were ahead of him was the reason why. But he's a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think a lot of Saints fans seen how he is able to pick up the blitz, and that is something that I think that is very very good for the New Orleans Saints to have a very young running back that is as smart as Devin Neal. Now, he has to stay on the field, right? I mean, it goes without saying. We talk about this running back room and the talent that it possesses, but there's always that asterisk next to it that says, well, as long as they can stay healthy. The key is staying healthy so everybody can see what you're actually capable of. When we talk about players like Devin Neal, when we talk about players like Kendre Miller, those two players are very capable of being a every down back for a team, but they have been injured. And that is something that they have to, can try to control. I mean, I understand that football is a physical sport, but they have to be able to stay on the field. Devin Neal wasn't even able to take part in any preseason games last season. I think he was able to maybe get into the third one. I mean, but he wasn't able to take part in a lot of the training camp. He was watching from the side. You want to be out there. You want to get involved to be able to, work your way up the pecking order of your particular position group. So Devin Neal is a player that I'm looking forward to seeing in 2026. If he stays healthy, I think that the Saints will find a spot for him. I think that he can be a really solid running back for the team. All right, so we'll just stop right there for a second. There's a few more guys that I want to talk about. And feel free to put your breakout player that you're looking forward to seeing in 2026 in the chat as well. I would love to hear from you. Let's go ahead and stroll down a little bit. It says, TJ, Monday night we felt a new song was coming out after bashing the Saints. Read it, listen to it, and message sent. TJ says, Sinker. Yeah, I mean, look, I think a lot of people look at, Yearning Sinker, that nobody really pay that much attention to him. When it comes to like the players that everybody's talking about, right? I mean, it's not like, he's flying on the radar to a point where people don't know what he's capable of. It's more so like when we're talking about breakout players, people are looking at players that they look forward to seeing that they think is just going to go out there and just put on an absolute show every single week. And I just think that Sinker kind of gets, lost in the shuffle when we're talking about players like, Jordan Tyson or Tyler Shuck or, Chris Olave, Oscar Delp, some of these younger players that people are looking forward to seeing. I just think that Sinker is flying under the radar, but I don't think when we're talking about some of the top rookies on the Saints roster last season, Yearning Sinker was a top of those rookies. Everybody was talking about Tyler Shuck, justifiably so, when he came in, but Yearning Sinker was holding it down in the secondary since the second week of the season. So I just think that this guy should get the credit he deserves to be able to be thrust into the lineup and not looked out of place more so than not. Said Delp can break out. Yeah, I think Oscar Delp can definitely break out. He's a guy that has tremendous talent. I think that the way that the University of Georgia used him, a lot of people probably don't know how good he can actually be. He's extremely athletic. He has a lot of ability to be able to get a lot of opportunities to be able to score and make big plays. And, like I said, Georgia didn't really utilize the tight end position. And when they did, I mean, it was Brock Bowers out there, right? I mean, Brock Bowers is a generational talent at the tight end position. So he kind of got lost in the shuffle. I'm talking Oscar Delp. So I just think that this is one of those cases where you're probably going to see a better professional player in Oscar Delp than you would have seen on a collegiate level. If you look at Oscar Delp's numbers, I mean, they're not going to knock your socks off in his final season at Georgia. But when you look at the skill set and the talent and the ability, athleticism, and everything that comes with him, I think that people are going to be pleasantly surprised what he can actually bring to the table in 2026 if the Saints utilize him correctly. I believe he will have a breakout year too. Yeah. He had 3 interceptions and could have had 6. Yeah, I mean, look, anytime you put a young player out there in the secondary, I mean, and your first interception ever comes off of Josh Allen, right? I mean, that was the first interception. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, right? Your first interception in the NFL comes off the reigning MVP. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure that did a lot for his confidence. And, I like Yearning Sinker a lot. I mean, I watched Yearning Sinker when he was in college. I covered Coastal Carolina, and, I seen him actually play when they came to town to take on Coastal. And, I mean, he was all over the field. That's why when the Saints actually drafted him, I was like, wow, man, they got something there. Probably going to have like 7 or 8 sacks this season. Who we talking about? Who we talking about? Who's going to have 6 or 7 sacks this season? Let's see. That intro was fire. Well, Charlie, I appreciate that, man. I'm glad you enjoyed the song. Says Styles has the speed to play the star position. He definitely has the speed to play the star position, but when the Saints signed him, they understood that, he was going to be dealing with some injuries, and he is dealing with that. So, I mean, you got to be able to be on the field in order for them to see what you can actually do. I think that he's probably going to, carve his teeth on special teams, which is not a bad thing, being a gunner. But he's a guy that's not afraid to go out there and tackle. And, you just need opportunity, right? I mean, you may start off on special teams and you might transition to being able to be a part of the starting rotation if you play your cards right and continue to work and continue to press. Let's see. I have 3: Calvin Banks, Christian Miller, and Kool-Aid. Well, that's a good 3 right there. I think that Calvin Banks can take a step forward. I think that he really showed that he was a really good pickup for the New Orleans Saints. And, this is something that the New Orleans Saints have needed since Teron Armstead moved on to the Miami Dolphins, and that is stability at the left tackle position. Now that you have that, and, you have a young guy that's probably going to end up being a really good player, I think that as long as Calvin Banks stays healthy, I think that he will be a Saints mainstay. But if he can actually build on some of the things that he did in 2025, I think that he can end up being a really good left tackle, and that's one less problem that you have to deal with. Christian Miller, I like his attitude. I think that he fits in really well. I think that he'll probably end up being a fan favorite if, his personality comes with some good football play, which I expect that it will. He's an extremely athletic kid. And, he's a guy that's not short of confidence in the process, right? Those Georgia Bulldog players, I mean, they are tough. They're physical, and but they're very sure of themselves. And I like Christian Miller. So I think that he will be a really solid player for the Saints. And this is the Kool-Aid McKinstry show, right? This is Kool-Aid's show right now. Like, the Saints have anointed him and appointed him as the number 1 cornerback. Regardless of what people may think, if he leaves a lot to be desired or what have you, Kool-Aid McKinstry is the number 1 guy. So, the confidence that he's going to have to play with, is going to, it's going to have to be major, the kind of confidence that he comes with. So at the end of the day, I want to see some of these young guys step up and emerge to be those leaders. As of right now, for the exception of guys like Cameron Jordan or maybe, Alvin Kamara, I mean, the Saints are basically saying to these young players, you have an opportunity to be a cornerstone player. All you have to do is put in that work. And if you put in that work, we're willing to invest in you. So it's a matter of taking advantage of these opportunities. When they appoint you as the number 1 guy, when they appoint you in the starting rotation as a 1, or what are you going to do with that? Or are you going to take advantage of the opportunity, or are you going to allow somebody else to come in and take it away from you? Only time will tell, but I'm very high on all 3 of those guys. Very interesting to see how Miller and Broughton work out. Also, that journalist can kick rocks. Yeah, man, Vernon Broughton, the Saints really believe in him. I think that he'll end up being, a solid player. I don't think he's going to be an all-pro or anything like that. I just think that when you look at the New Orleans Saints, I think you can see what they're trying to do here. I mean, you look at Nate Shepard, he's the elder statesman. Brian Brzee, he's up for a contract extension, so this is a big year for him. But it seems to me that the New Orleans Saints are trying to get a little younger on the line, right? You drafted Vernon Broughton last season, and then you draft Christian Miller this season. So it seems like they maybe want these 2 guys to be able to work out. And if they do, then you got yourself 2 young guys that you can actually, build your trenches around. So, I think that both guys are going to be able to do some really good things, extremely athletic guys. And like I said, not short of confidence. Vernon Broughton just a guy who just did it the hard way, man. Like he wasn't the best interior lineman in college football or anything like that. He just went out there and he worked harder, man, and worked harder than anybody else on that line and gained the respect of his Texas Longhorns teammates. And I think that had a lot to do with the New Orleans Saints drafting him, because of the hard work and him having an opportunity to leave the University of Texas as they started to get all these high recruits. He was like, look, I'm going to continue to work. I'm going to stay right here and I'm going to fight it out. You don't really see too many collegiate players doing that anymore. Like, it seems like nobody wants to compete anymore, right? Everybody just wants something to be given to them without them actually putting in the work. I'm fast, I'm strong, I can catch passes. They don't believe in me, so let me go over here, right? It's very rare that you see players with the ability and a belief in themselves to stay at a school in the wild, wild west that we call the NIL right now. You know, you don't really see that anymore. So for me, that gives me more respect for a player like Vernon Broughton, and I believe that he'll end up, you know, being a solid player for the Saints. Hey, TJ, is it cool if I shout out a fellow Saints fam podcast in the chat? Yeah, man, look, feel free to do so, man. Feel free to do so. Look, I'm not one of them people that's, you know, like selfish about that, man. Look, there's a space and room for everybody in the podcasting world, right? I mean, it's about growing. It's about, you know, working together. It's about, you know, people like growing together. Like, I understand, like, people, you know, want to make these things about competition and all that kind of stuff. But look, at the end of the day, man, look, it's about people having an opportunity to be able to enjoy different podcasts and enjoy different perspectives and stuff like that. So, no, I don't have a problem with that at all. Says, been trying to tell boys at Jerry, we be all over these podcasts. Who they? Says, Barry and Brown, Lance, Polk, give the Saints good backups at wide receivers. Yeah, look, I just think that the Saints went towards something that Kellen Moore was emphasizing and talking about last season. He said, like, he wants his wide receiver group to kind of look like a starting five of a basketball team, so to speak. You know, your pass catchers, you want your guys that are like maybe smaller and shifty. All the while, you want your guys, some of the taller guys, to be able to be possession guys. You want to be able to utilize the playbook to the fullest, right? And it may be hard and difficult for you to be able to utilize the playbook if, you know, you don't have the right collection of players. I think the majority of the offseason last year, Saints fans were talking about how the New Orleans Saints wide receiver group lacked size, right? You had Brandon Cooks out there, kind of a smaller receiver, Rashid Shaheed, smaller receiver, Chris Olave, a smaller receiver, and the largest receiver you had last season was Bud Means, who was like 6'3", you know, maybe 215, 220. And, you know, like, you didn't have anybody else other than your tight end group. But now you look at the New Orleans Saints, you know, you got Bryce Lance, you know, he's about 6'2" or 6'3", Jordan Tyson, 6'3", right? I mean, you got Chris Olave about 6'1", you know, and you got Barry and Brown, a little smaller guy that's shifty, is probably going to be on special teams. So you got different guys, right? Devon Vele, a taller guy, about 6'4", 6'5". So you have balance at the wide receiver position all across the board. You know, you got Bud Means, who is still on the team as of right now. So you got wide receivers of different shapes and sizes that now that you can exhaust your playbook, right? You can, you know, if you're going for a short yardage situation and you need a wide receiver that's going to be able to box somebody out to be able to catch the pass or use their body, you have that. If you need a wide receiver that's going to take the top off the defense, you have that. A guy that can work in the flat, you got that, right? And then in a red zone, goal line situations, right? You can utilize some of those wide receivers or even your tight end group. So it gives you endless possibilities offensively, right? Sometimes you're at the mercy of your roster, you know, and it affects your playbook because you don't have the right players to be able to utilize some of the plays to be able to, you know, find success, right? So that's extremely important. Let's go ahead and move on a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about a few more players that I want to spotlight here. Quincy Riley, right? Quincy Riley going into his second season. Started off the season, you know, injured last year. The Saints kind of slowly ingratiated him into the lineup. And, you know, he did a really solid job, right? I mean, we know that Ike Yadam started the season last year, and it had Saints fans concerned because they wanted that compensatory pick, right? Everybody was concerned, like, oh, man, Ike Yadam, he got to play only a certain percent of the snaps as a starter. If he does, then the Saints lose the pick. But, I tried to assure everybody, I was like, he's not going to play the entire season. And he didn't. And in comes Quincy Riley when he was healthy. And Quincy played pretty well, man. But I think that he's going to take another step, right? I think that he's going to take another step at the cornerback position. He's a guy that's a sure tackler. He's a guy that, can, get his hands on a football and, take advantage of those opportunities. And look, this is a great moment and a big moment for him, because the New Orleans Saints could have went out here and maybe drafted another guy, but they said that they believe in Quincy Riley. Like, teams don't necessarily have to come out and tell you things in press conferences. You can tell the way that they actually utilize the offseason, rather it's through the draft or through free agency. And for them to not put a strong emphasis on a cornerback position in free agency or in a draft with a high pick, it just tells you that they believe in Quincy Riley. And I like the kid, right? I like him. I like what the Saints are doing. I like the fact that they're trying to get younger as a roster. They're not trying to go out here and trying to get a 30, 31-year-old guy to be the starter. It's like, man, we got an idea, we got a plan, and we want these guys to be a part of the plan, and we want to ingratiate a new culture in New Orleans. And how do you ingratiate a new culture? Well, you bring in guys that only understand and only know your culture, right? You think about some of those players that classic 2017 draft, right? With Marshawn Lattimore and Alvin Kamara and Marcus Williams and Alex Anzalone and Trey Hendrickson, right? And all these different other players, Ryan Ramczyk, all these different players that were a part of that 2017 draft. It created a brand new culture, a culture of winning, a culture of, consistency with the New Orleans Saints, right? And you can tell that Kellen Moore is trying to do the same thing. Last year was a little bit of a lanyap year, I'll say. Like, nobody really paid that much attention or put strong emphasis on the Saints winning every single game, because I think they pretty much understood that, Kellen Moore was coming in and it was going to be an uphill battle based on the Saints' salary situation, based on, what the Saints had in house at the time. The Saints were just trying to get through the season because they knew that 2026 could be a little bit better. And I think that this is the year where you're really going to have to start judging Kellen Moore as a head coach. I think that we have to kind of really analyze him and break it down a little bit more harshly, right, this season, right? Because this is the team that you're trying to construct. But I get that the New Orleans Saints are trying to get these younger players in here to be able to build the culture and build it in the image of Kellen Moore, right? As we remove, as the Saints remove themselves from, the Sean Payton, Drew Brees era, now you're in the Kellen Moore era. And the question is, what is that going to look like? Who is going to be the leaders? Who is going to be the guys to step up? And they're giving them opportunities. And Quincy Riley is one of the players that they're giving that opportunity to. And of course, it goes without saying, I have to say Tyler Shuck, right? Tyler Shuck will be the last guy that I spotlight. I think it goes without saying Jordan Tyson would be on that list. But look, there's a lot of pressure on Tyler Shuck this season. Like, Tyler Shuck has done all the right things to show that he is committed to the city of New Orleans, that he is and he wants to be the leader of this team. He's doing all the right things, but all of that means absolutely nothing if you don't go out there and perform at a high level. And everybody expects for Tyler Shuck to do so, and I expect for him to do so. But this is his team right now, right? I mean, you still got some guys that have been here for a long time that are going to be, a loud voice in the locker room. Cam Jordan, Alvin Kamara, not really a rah-rah guy, but he's in there. He's a presence. But this is Tyler Shuck's team, and Tyler Shuck has to lead by example. You got to go out there. You got to play well, and you can't allow, this second year to be a year where people are questioning, are you the guy or not, right? I think that people want to believe that he is the guy. I believe that he's the guy, but like I said, at the end of the day, it means absolutely nothing. The Saints have fully committed to Tyler Shuck. Like, they proved it in a draft by drafting 3 wide receivers, put a strong emphasis on the offense, tried to fix the offensive line by bringing in David Edwards, gave him a running game by bringing in Travis Etienne. Seems like Alvin Kamara is going to be there as well. So they're putting pieces around him where he doesn't have to go out there and have to move mountains all by himself. The New Orleans Saints are making a commitment to him. It's time that Tyler Shough makes a commitment to the Saints, and it looks like he's going to do that. But we'll see in 2026. But those are some players that I'm looking forward to seeing. Hopefully, those players can break out and be the players that Saints fans expect them to be in 2026. And if they do, then I think this can be a good year for the black and gold. Jared says, y'all pray for me. I'm getting oral surgery done Wednesday morning. Yeah, man, we're going to pray for you, man. Prayers up to you, Jerry, man. Hope everything works out. I'm not going to say hope. It will work out, man. Which player is wild card to be breakout? Which player is a wild card to be a breakout player? Which player is a wild card to be? I'm gonna have to say Danny Stutzman. I think Danny Stutzman will probably be your wild card. You know, I think that Danny Stutzman is a guy that is not afraid to tackle. He's a guy that plays with a lot of intensity. You know, there are going to be opportunities where Danny Stutzman can hit the field and take advantage of the opportunities. I can tell you this: like every time Stutzman was out there last season as a rookie, like he made an impactful tackle or a play that was noticeable. And when you have a player like that, you gotta like consider him as a breakout star. So, you know, there are opportunities that are going to present themselves to Danny Stutzman, and I think that he could possibly be a breakout guy. I mean, we all know about his personality. We all know about the intensity that he plays with. So, yeah, I would have to say Stutzman would probably be the wild card. Tyler been impressive this offseason. Yeah, he's been impressive this offseason, and everybody will tell you that has been at practice. They say that the ball is coming out quicker. He's more confident in the throws. He knows what he's doing. He knows where he wants to go with the ball. And, you know, that's a start. You know, I mean, when you're a rookie, you're just trying to figure things out, right? I mean, you're going through a whirlwind, right? Because you're trying to figure out, you know, the speed of the NFL, you know, what the players are going to do, the tendencies of your wide receivers, et cetera, right? But, you know, you're going to year two, you get a full off season. You're able to, you know, practice, develop chemistry with your coaches, develop chemistry with your teammates. And you become, embedded in a culture, and you become a little bit more sure of yourself. So, you know, I'm glad to see that, you know, you can see the improvement from this time last year to where we are right now. That just tells you that Tyler Shough is the right guy for the job, and he's doing all the right things to get better. Let's see. I think the passing game will be special. No injuries, O-line, wideouts. Look, I think any team will tell you, like, as long as, you know, your core players stay healthy, you'll have a chance. You know, you're not going to win every game, but, you know, you'll always be in it, right? And, you know, it's very difficult for a team to be able to rise above a lot of these situations. I understand the whole phrase next man up, right? But look, there's a depth chart for a reason. And when you're losing out on guys that are generational talents, elite players, Pro Bowlers, all pros consistently, and then all of a sudden you have a guy that's probably coming off the scrap heap, you know, like it's tough. So if the Saints can get their offensive line health in control, then I think that the Saints can be successful. But if you keep on having this plug and play that you've had on the offensive line over the last few seasons, it's going to be the same old song and dance, regardless of what you have on offense. You need offensive linemen to hold up in order for the quarterback to be able to find success, the running back to find success, wide receivers time to be able to get open so the quarterback can hit them down the field or in the flat. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, got to do that. At least the offense has depth now, so the next man up isn't from the mall cell phone kiosk. Right. I mean, you want to be able to have options, right? I think Julian Blackmon will be wild card breakout. Yes, he's a vet, but I think he'll do good with the Saints. Look, I mean, Julian Blackmon is already a good player. Like, his issue has been the injury history, right? I mean, look, the Saints wouldn't have been able to even touch Julian Blackmon if he would have stayed healthy, right? A lot of teams aren't going to commit to you if you consistently get injured. And, that's one of the main reasons why the New Orleans Saints was able to get their hands on Julian Blackmon. And there's also a reason why they were able to get their hands on Chase Young. So, like, sometimes, players might fall into your lap, might have a history of being injured, come to your team, and, injuries is not an issue. Like, I think about Caden Ellis. Like, Caden Ellis for the New Orleans Saints, when they drafted him, Caden Ellis was solid but couldn't stay healthy. He goes to the Atlanta Falcons, doesn't miss a game. Now he's back with the New Orleans Saints, and now the Saints are hoping that the same type of durability he had with the Falcons, he can have with the Saints. So, sometimes, like, it's an unfortunate situation. I think that's what a lot of people are thinking about when they think about running back Kendre Miller. Like, Kendre Miller always injured. He goes to another team. If he finds durability, he's probably going to be one of those players where it's like, man, why did the Saints let him go? But when he's with the Saints, he was always hurt, right? So, yeah, sometimes it just happens that way. It's unfortunate, right? That players, they move on, probably because of injury history, and then they find durability on their next team, and you're like, man, what was that in New Orleans? Says we need Brazil to show up this year. Yeah, Nate, he's going to have to show up this year. He's probably going to get shipped out. I think that we all see what the New Orleans Saints are doing here. I can respect what the New Orleans Saints are doing, because this has been an issue for the New Orleans Saints, in my opinion, for a long time. I think that, they have put a strong emphasis on the guys that are starters, right? And it just seemed to me like they didn't want anybody to come in and maybe push them, right? Like, you'll probably have a linebacker that's really good, and then all of a sudden, like, another guy that's all right, right? But the problem is you're expecting for that starting player to play every single game. But what happens if they don't? And you have a guy that's just solid, right? Like, he's probably average at best. Then that's probably the best he'll ever be, right? I don't believe in that. I think that iron sharpens iron. Like, I don't care if you have Julio Jones on one side. Look, I'm trying to draft Megatron next year, right? I'm trying to get better every single year at the position, because you want to be able to create a competitive environment. You don't want guys to be fighting at practice and all that kind of stuff and have dissension on your team, but you want guys to know, if I got this starting job, I earned it, right? Nothing was given to me. I didn't just walk up in here with my Louis Vuitton bag on, walking into my locker, and they say, hey, man, you're our starter, right? And they're trying to give you this false sense of reality by bringing in guys that's not going to compete with you realistically. You want to have guys in the room that's going to be able to have the capability of beating out a starter, right? Look, I said this before about Cesar Ruiz. The New Orleans Saints should not go into this offseason telling Cesar Ruiz or making Cesar Ruiz believe that his job isn't in jeopardy. Like, you bring in Jeremiah Wright out of Auburn, guess what? That's the guy that should be competing with Cesar Ruiz. If Cesar Ruiz can't get his act together, then guess what? He had to sit on a bench. Like, I don't care who it is. Nobody should be looked at as a guy that got anything in the bag, because here's the reality. The New Orleans Saints haven't made the playoffs in 5 seasons. So with that said, nobody on that team has done enough for the New Orleans Saints to get to where they need to be. So with that, you need to be bringing in competition. Guys need to feel the pressure, because when you start to feel the pressure, you start to turn it up a little bit, and you start to see what these guys are really made out of, right? I mean, think about this. Think about when you go through adverse situations, right? When it seems like you can't see your way, when it seems like things are difficult, things are dim, things are dark, right? It's rather 2 things you're going to do. You're going to go into the corner and curl up in a fetal position, or you're going to rise to the occasion. And most people are going to rise to the occasion and kick out of their situation. They're going to go out fighting. So that's the way that in the NFL world should be as well. It should be a competitive environment, right? Unless, you got an all-world elite player that's flirting with the Hall of Fame, like, you good. But how many players on there as of right now on the Saints team you can say are surefire Hall of Famers other than Cam Jordan? Y'all get what I'm saying? So, look, everybody should be in a competition, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and move on, man. Let's talk a little bit about something that was Man, very, very sad to see, man, and very unfortunate news. I'm referring to former NFL running back Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson revealed on Good Morning America on Monday that he has been battling ALS. And, anybody that watched Chris Johnson, when he was playing, he played with the Tennessee Titans. I believe he also played with the Arizona Cardinals. But when he was in Tennessee, man, this guy was one of the most dynamic, one of the most spectacular running backs that I've ever seen. Like the speed that this guy had, right? I mean, the elusivity that he had, and just the swag that he played with. It's crazy. But Chris Johnson, if you got some Saints fans in here, Chris Johnson was like the first Alvin Kamara to me. Like he like how Alvin Kamara personality is, the way that Alvin Kamara plays. That's what Chris Johnson. Like Chris Johnson was, a guy that nobody like really like looked at him as a guy that was just a rah-rah guy. He was just a guy that played football, right? Played football, did his thing, and was just super dynamic, man. I mean, everybody remember like the 2,000-yard season that he had when he was in his prime. That's the reason how he got the nickname CJ2K. The celebration dance when and that was something that was synonymous with him. And like I said, man, he brought that Florida swag, to Tennessee. And man, people just love Chris Johnson. Just love to watch him play, man. And like I said, on Monday, he revealed that he was battling ALS. He was diagnosed back in 2025, and it has aggressively taken over his body. Now, this is a few quotes from Chris Johnson here. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. And it says, it continues to progress much faster than I've imagined. I want people to understand just how quickly ALS can attack your body. Just over a year ago, I was picking up my 7-year-old daughter so she can make a wish on her birthday cake. Today, I couldn't do that. So that's a quote from Chris Johnson, right? I mean, that goes to show you, because I was like, man, this is unbelievable, because I can remember, I want to say at NFL Honors, not this year, but last year, I can remember Chris Johnson like on stage, like presenting an award. And, you think about like how you go from that to in an interview, like he's using an actual computer and he has to use his eyes in order for him to create sentences to be able to communicate. And, it just tells you, man, like this ALS, this disease is very serious, man. And as of right now, there's no cure for it. There's no rhyme, no reason. Like nobody in Chris Johnson's family was diagnosed. There's no history of it. And you just think about like some of the players in particular that were diagnosed with ALS. Saints fans are pretty familiar with Steve Gleason, right? And you just think about how these guys like go from being these supermen, right? It breaks them down, right? They can't walk, can't pick up their kids, like still got that mind to be able to do the things that they want to do, all the while their body is betraying them. And it's unfortunate. And, one of the reasons why like this honestly hits home to me, but I'm gonna go ahead and read this other statement before I get into that. It says, Chris Johnson says, I want people to know that I'm still me. ALS has changed what my body can do, but it hasn't changed who I am. He said, people sometimes look at my physical disability and assume you're not still the same person inside. I still think the same. I still dream, and I still love my family. My body just doesn't cooperate. So that comes from Chris Johnson. So like I said, it's unfortunate, right? Like that's the most unfortunate thing, for you to want to do something and can't. And back to my statement, the reason why this hits home to me, because just reading a couple of those statements from Chris Johnson, like Chris Johnson is 40 years old. I'm 39 years old. I'll be 40 next month, right? He talks about picking up his 7-year-old daughter to blow out her birthday candles, right? I have a 7-year-old son. So it's almost like when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about being a 39-year-old, picking up my 7-year-old son and how, he'll come up to me or whatever like that, want to wrestle with me. Or, I'll pick him up and I just kind of just toss him a little bit. And he just think that's the funnest thing in the world. And I think about what would that feel like if I wasn't able to do that? And, I can only imagine how that feels. Like nobody wants to feel like they can't do the things for their children. Nobody wants to feel as if, like they just can't be there for their family. And, not dealing with ALS, but dealing with, type 1 diabetes like I do. And I deal with it all the time, man. And sometimes I may not feel my best, but I mean, we family here, so I'll be open with everybody. One of my biggest fears is, one thing that diabetes does, it affects your limbs, right? Anybody that deals with diabetes knows that neuropathy is something that a lot of diabetics deal with, right? They tell you to take care of your feet, take care of your legs. And I just think about it, like, what if like one day I couldn't use my legs anymore? Like to be able to run out in the backyard and be able to run with my son or anything like that. Like, how would that make me feel? Right. And I just think about like Chris Johnson, how you go from being in the prime of your life, like 1 year where you're just standing on stage at NFL honors to now you are relying on so many people to be able to take care of you. And, my prayers just go out to him, go out to his family. And it was just very difficult to see that, man, because think about how many people this guy has touched, being a football player. How many people looked at him and admire him, when he was on the field, in Nashville all those years. And, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say this. I think that he won even more people over by coming out and being brave enough and being strong enough to be able to put himself out there and be vulnerable, to be able to spread awareness about ALS and let people know that it can happen to anybody. And also in the process, to be able to enjoy life to the fullest, right? We don't know what can happen tomorrow, right? We don't know what can happen tomorrow. We don't know what can possibly happen in our lives that can alter something, right? So we got to appreciate every single day of our life. We got to appreciate the people in our lives every single day and not take things for granted. And, like I said, just looking at that interview, it just kind of just put things into perspective for me. Number one, what am I really complaining about? And number two, like, enjoy every minute of your life, every moment of your life when you can spend time with your son, spend time with your kids and be able to do some of the things that we take for granted every single day that we don't even look at as being a superpower, but in reality, it actually is. So prayers go out once again to Chris Johnson, to his family. And look, I just hope that one day we find a solution to this disease called ALS, because, so many people out here are dealing with it. And, for them not to have a cure right now, it's unfortunate. It is very unfortunate. So hopefully we can actually get to the bottom of it and one day be able to find a solution to this disease here. But let's go ahead and read some of your comments. It says heartbreaking. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It says, I pray the Lord comforts him. Yeah, man, I know that got to be tough, right? I know that got to be tough. I know it's tough because, like I said, you go from being the epitome, of an athlete, right? I mean, one of the fastest guys in the entire league, right? I mean, you just had this athleticism, you had this ability. He even said, like, man, he was still working out, staying in shape, right? Hanging out with his kids, doing the things that every last one of us, for the most part, do on a consistent basis, right? And then all of a sudden, like, you get some news and, they even told him, like, he needs to get his affairs in order, right? Just imagine how that would make you feel, right? I mean, like you just think, oh man, like, man, how my back hurt, right? Let me go to the doctor and see what's going on. And you get some news like that. Right, man, you got to appreciate life. Like, you got to appreciate the moments that you're here and like the little things that you take for granted every single day. You got some people out there that wish they can actually do some of the things that you're doing. So, man, just appreciate life, and take those moments to be able to appreciate the people around you. Chris Johnson did deal with motor tics throughout his life, and his publicists and fans long noted that he suffered from a form of Tourette syndrome. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know, like, I don't know about any of that stuff, to be honest with you. If that is the case, like, man, that's unfortunate, but I don't think that has anything to do I know it don't have anything to do with him being diagnosed with ALS. I know it doesn't have anything to do with that, but, regardless if he had like those issues or not, man, you don't want to see anybody like body just deteriorate the way that it did over the course of the year like that. Like, I mean, that was unbelievable. Like, I'm telling you, man, I was like, when it was like, man, Chris Johnson, like, because, I mean, they just like, Chris Johnson has an announcement or whatever. And I'm like, man, what's going on here? Like, what happened? Like, and then all of a sudden, like, he's sitting up in that chair, and small frame. And you just think about it, man. Like, you always see like Chris Johnson, around, had the big chains on and stuff like that, man, walking around, just chilling, laid back personality. And, he's just sitting up there, man. It's like, dang, like all that happened in the course of a year. Crohn's disease kicked my behind for 20 plus years until I found a medication that put it in remission. I pray something like that comes out for ALS. Yeah, me too, man. I hope that it does. Like I said, because you have so many people out here dealing with this. And like I said, there's no rhyme, no reason. Like, as of right now, according to like research, it's not something that's like genetic. You just end up like developing it. There's no rhyme, no reason behind it. Like, you can understand like some of these other like conditions, diabetes, heart disease, stuff like that, right? That stuff can be considered genetic. But when it comes to ALS, it isn't. There's a cure, stem cells. Well, look, from your mouth to God's ears, like, hopefully, that could be a solution one day to add or be able to help that. But as of right now, there isn't one that they feel comfortable enough, Corey, to say, yeah, this is the solution to it. He is covered in the blood. Yeah, look, man, I just pray for this man. Like, I can only imagine, how that feels. And I'm just speaking to y'all from like, this ain't just me on some podcast. Like, I'm really talking to you all like from a very vulnerable like state here. Like, I just think about that. That is like the biggest fear that I have as a type 1 diabetic, is like losing my limbs. Like the doctor just tell me one day, there's some clogs and they have to, they will have to remove my limbs or something like that, and not being able to take care, of my family, not be able to run with my son. Like, man, that would be devastating to me. That would be devastating to me. Like I say, I can only imagine how this brother feels. Like, you are the guy that your entire family looked at, right? I mean, you were the support system, right? All the money that you made and all the accolades. You were the guy that cousin them looked up to, right? Oh man, cousin Chris was a dog out there on that field, right? Man, cousin Chris, you think you help me train or whatever like that? I got a football, I got football practice. I'm trying to make the team. You think about all those type of things, man. You go from that, and now you need a village to be able to take care of you, right? You were the village. Now you need a village. God bless that brother, man. Hey, G, I just found out a couple weeks ago that I went to school with have it too. Somebody that you went to school with has? Oh, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. Prayers up to your classmate, man. Hey, TJ. Hey, chat. Very sad. CJ2K praying for him. But what was so awesome is he recorded his voice ahead of time. Yep. Yeah, that was one thing too, and that he was able to record his voice so he can be able to, like, they be able to use it and he can sound like him. And, like, man, that's a fortunate thing for that. But like I said, man, I can only just imagine, how that feels. Like I said, for his family, and everybody else around him. I just hope that they rally around him, and I hope they rally around his wife too, because, man, that's tough. That's tough on her, man. That's definitely tough on her because, his life changed, but also her life changed too, because she has to be there to take care of him. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, TJ, I found out a girl I went to school with had the same thing too. I was surprised. Yeah, man. Sorry to hear that. He ran a 4.24. Good luck trying to catch him. Dude was lightning quick, praying for him and his family. Yeah, man, just a good player, exciting player to watch. Says, no matter what, always pray the good Lord. Says, my wife had 5 strokes at the age of 36. Doctors don't, or why they keep happening. It's crazy world. Pray for my guy, CJ2K. Yeah, man, not only, for CJ, but your wife also, man. But, just the fact that, your wife been through so many different things and she's still here, it just tells you, man, that, still got some work for her to do. And like I said, man, we just going to continue to pray, like if you are individuals of faith, like pray for this man, pray for his family, and pray for your own strength. Says life is more fragile than we think or expect, but we just have to push through at the end of the day. Life takes a turn, man. Life takes a turn. Like you never know. Like we wake up in the morning, we get in our cars, we drive our kids to school, we go to work. Like we do all these little things throughout the day. We may walk around the office. There's one thing can happen to you, and one of those things can stop happening. We don't even think about it, man. We don't even think about, like, picking up a pencil, right? Picking up a pen. Like, we don't think about these things, but there are people out here that can't even do those things. They can't even do those things, man. Like, you got to appreciate life. And some of us, even if you're like, maybe you are down, maybe you are wheelchair bound, right? But you're still able to communicate. You're still able to, like, be independent to certain levels. Like, you gotta count that, man. You gotta count it. It made me tear up and think about how many other people is going to have went through this. Man, I hope we can find a cure. Yeah, definitely want to make sure that, they find a cure one day. And, you got some doctors out there, man, that's really putting their best foot forward to try to find a solution to this thing called ALS. And, ALS just is one of those diseases that just kind of popped up, it's been around, but, unfortunately, like, people were introduced to ALS, by people pouring water on top of their heads, right? But as we have grown to learn that this disease is affecting a lot of people. It's affecting a lot of people, man. So, but yeah, man, prayers up to Chris Johnson and his family. And hopefully, man, they can just find a solution to this and also be able to, make sure that they get the things that Chris needs in order for him to, just continue to live, man, and be an advocate and be a person that can help spearhead the charge, spreading awareness for ALS. All right. But I want to say thank you all for checking out this episode of the Straight Up TJ Podcast. Really do appreciate it. I ask that you hit the like and subscribe button to help the Straight Up TJ Podcast to grow. Make sure that you all check out the Sleeper Saints podcast. I'm going to go ahead and put that link inside of the comments in just a second, because I want everybody to, if you have not already, to make sure that you go over there to the Sleeper Saints podcast channel, subscribe. We have a recent episode that we put out. We put it out every single Monday. Just want to let everybody know that. You can check out the Sleeper Saints episodes every single Monday. And also there are shorts that are available as well, where you can check it out. We have Saints topics throughout the week. So go to the Sleeper Saints podcast. The link is inside the comments. Click on it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Last episode of last week, it was the highest viewed, mostly viewed video that we have done so far. We had over 3,000 views on that, man. So I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know what the algorithm was on that week, but I appreciate it. All right. And as we continue to try to grow that channel, shouts out to Jerry and so many others that push others to subscribe to the channel, man. Thank y'all so much for that. And thank you so much if you just stumble across the channel. Hopefully we won you over and you hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on X at TJAY Jones 8. There's a new song that we just came out with, Who That Ain't Buying It, that features little something about Alvin Kamara and the comments that Jeff Duncan made in his article last week. We got a song dedicated to our guy Jeff, and hopefully you all enjoy it. We'll go ahead and end the show with that in your ears. All right, till next time, all I gotta say is who that, and I'll see you down the road.
Who that ain't buying it? Who that ain't buying it? Who that ain't buying it? No, they ain't feeling that. Jeff wrote another one, fans looking like, what's the deal with that? Tried to paint Camaro like you watch, we ain't hearing that. Put him back in space, watch him shake, watch him kill him fast. Screens disappear, wheel routes gone where the motion at. Running them up middle like he hear me, that ain't where he at. AK still got magic, better use him where the field is vast. Saints fans know the truth, we ain't falling for the Duncan draft. Jeff Duncan dropped the piece, now the city got opinions talking. Move on from Camaro, fans saying he tripping. You can't blame the player when the play calling been missing. Had a cheat code in the backfield, now they use him like he basic. When he first came through, he was catching in the flats. Linebackers frozen, he was gone before they tapped. Wheel route up the sideline, screen pass with the blocks. Now they slam him in the A-gap like he built a movable box. That ain't AK's lane, that ain't how he made his name. He need daylight misdirection, let him cook inside the game. Why we acting like the talent left? The use has been insane. Same old story, different star. Fans peeping that. Who that ain't buying it? No, they ain't feeling that. Jeff wrote another one, fans looking like, what's the deal with that? Tried to paint Camaro like you watch, we ain't hearing that. Put him back in space, watch him shake, watch him kill him fast. Screens disappear, wheel routes gone where the motion at. Running them up middle like he Henry, that ain't where he at. AK still got magic, better use him where the field is vast. Saints fans know the truth, we ain't falling for the Duncan drafts. They remember Mike Thomas, yeah they seen this before. Same pin, same angle, trying to push him out the door. Fans ain't rocking with it, they been keeping up the score. Like why every time I start down you gon' twist it even more. This feel like a hit piece, that's what they saying in the streets. From the dome to the timeline, everybody got receipts. Camaro ain't the problem, man, the scheme got him asleep. You don't park a foreign car, then complain it ain't cheap. Give him option routes, motion linebackers in the bind. Let him catch it on the move, not collide with the line. He ain't Derrick Henry, stop pretending that's the design. He a joystick with the vision, let him work and let him shine. Who that nation loud, they ain't quiet with the facts. They seen AK carry, they ain't turning on fast. Before you say he done, better check how he been tasked. A weapon out of rhythm, still a weapon with a chance. Who that ain't buying it, nah, they ain't feeling that. Jeff wrote another one, fans looking like, what's the deal with that? Tried to paint Camaro like he watch, we ain't hearing that. Put him back in space, watch him shake, watch him kill him fast. Screens disappear, wheel routes gone where the motion at. Running them up middle like he Henry, that ain't where he at. AK still got magic, better use him where the field is vast. Saints fans know the truth, we ain't falling for the Duncan.